Okay, to create the cityscape using your perspective grid, we're going to create a new file in Illustrator. It's going to be letter size and landscape as well. Let's go ahead and put in the name of this file, which is going to be 1 underscore your last name underscore perspective city, and then click OK. Now, we're going to go ahead. I already have my perspective grid tools torn away, and I'm going to click here to turn on the perspective grid. And I need to lower the horizon a little bit because I want it to look like we're standing right in front of the building looking back. Okay, that's how that should look to us. Now, remember that you have these controls here which allow you to put things on the different planes. What I want to show you first is I can draw a rectangle directly on a plane. Okay, and that automatically puts it on that left side of the grid. If I was on my right side of the grid, I could, whoops, there we go. I could draw one there as well, and you can see the perspective. Okay, however, it's probably not the easiest way for us to build a city using the perspective grid. It's going to be easier if we create some shapes, turn them into symbols, and then we can place them on the grid. So let's go ahead, and since we have our perspective grid set up with the low horizon, we're going to come over here and we're going to hide the grid. And we're going to use our tools to go ahead and create some buildings that are going to go into our city. Okay. And with these, I'm going to choose a color scheme. You can choose your own color scheme, but what I want you to remember is your colors need to be related. And you are going to choose, they need to be able to do the opposite as well. And you'll see when I do my first building here. So I'm going to start off with this orange color here and no stroke. Okay, I just want a solid orange. And I'm going to draw a rectangle. And if I don't like the size of my rectangle, I can adjust it. Okay. Now, with that, I'm also going to draw some windows, and I'm going to use this light orange there for my windows. Again, I'm not going to have a stroke on them. So I'm going to draw one, and I'm going to make it a square. And in order for me to make it a perfect square, I have to hold the Shift key down. And to keep them all the same size, I'm going to do my duplicate method where I can hold down my Option key and then click on it and drag. And click and drag and click and drag and then click and drag. Now, I also want to make sure that I have them all equally spaced apart. So I'm going to use my Shift key to click on each of those squares, and I'm going to use my Align tools. First off, I want to make sure, I'm going to actually get my Align panel here. I want to make sure that I am not aligned to the artboard. I want to align to the selection. Okay. I want to make sure that they are aligned vertical center, which they should be the way I did it. And then I'm going to distribute the center horizontally. And that puts an equal amount of space there. Okay. Now, with those still selected, I can now hold my Option key down. And remember, if I start dragging, it makes a duplicate. And if I hold my Shift key down, guess what else it does? It keeps them aligned. And now I have two sets of windows that I can Option, then hold Shift, and drag those down. And one last time, I can select all of them and Option, click and drag, hold my Shift key to keep them in a straight line. And now I have a building with all of these windows that are equally spaced apart. Okay? Now, I am going to select all of that. Since I have one building done, I'm going to select all of that, and I am going to duplicate the entire thing. And I'm just going to drag it over. Now, with this second one, I want to reverse the colors. So I have a dark one, and now I want a light one. So I'm going to shift click to release that big rectangle. I just want all the windows selected. And with those windows, I'm going to change the color, and then I'm going to select just the rectangle and change the color. So now it is exactly the opposite of this one. Okay? So I have two that are the same, just opposite colors. You are going to need to do that. And then you are also going to need to come up with 4 or 5 additional building designs that don't look the same. Okay, they can have rectangular windows, they can be shorter, squattier buildings, they can be taller skyscrapers, but you need to have a dark version and the lighter, the reverse version. Okay, so I'm going to hit pause while I finish mine, and you can come back and take a look at mine and then pause and create all of yours. Okay, so I have 5 different buildings created. Okay, and what I want you to remember is when we go about putting these on the perspective grid, we're going to be able to pull and push them to where we can make them different sizes as well. Okay, so you're not limited to just 5, because as you push and pull them, they become, or they look like different buildings also. So the first thing we want to do is we want to go ahead and group them. So I am selecting using my drag marquee method to make sure that the building and all the windows are selected, and I'm grouping it together. That way I don't accidentally pull them apart. Now, if you don't see your symbols panel open, you're going to need to find it under your window menu. And all we have to do is drag and drop this on our symbols panel, and it prompts us to save it. So here I want to go ahead and call this 1, and I'm going to call it dark, because this is my first building and it's the dark one. I'm going to make it a graphic, and I'm going to click OK. Then I'm going to do the same thing for the second. I'm going to select all of it, group it, drag it over, and this is going to be 1 light. And again, it is a graphic, and click OK. And you can see them popping up here. Now, I am going to drag this down so that I can see or have more room. Here I have building 2. I'm grouping it, dragging it over to dark, and then I'm going to do to light, group, oops, do that again. I pressed the wrong key. I don't even know what I pressed. Group, drag, to light, and graphic. Then I have 3, group, 3 dark. Oops, I think I forgot to make that a actually, let me undo. I forgot to make it a graphic. Let me drag that in. 3 dark and graphic. There we go. Click OK. Group, 3 light, graphic, and then here I have group, 4 dark, and group, 4 light, and one last set, group, 5 dark, and group, 5 light. Okay. Now, once all of yours are in the symbol library, I want to tell you a couple of things. Number one, they do not automatically become symbols that are available every time you use Illustrator. Okay? They are simply saved as symbols inside this document. But now that they are saved inside this document, we can actually delete them from our artboard. And you can see that they are still here. Okay? Let's go ahead and show our grid again. Check to make sure that your horizon is down low. And then we will, whoops, there it is, down low. And then we will move on to the next video where we're going to place our buildings on the grid.